Good evening. Welcome to episode 205 of the Cantinho Benfiquista podcast. One down, 8 to go. We got 8 finals left. I'm joined today by Bill. I got Oscar, Kenny, and Jason are off today. Left to right. Bill, how are you?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Good. Off a win, comfortable win at that.
Finally.
Yeah. Oscar, how are you?
Very good, man. Very good. Very convincing win. So happy as it can be.
It's about time. It feels like it's been a while since we didn't have to suffer through the final 15 minutes
Right.
of a freaking game, conceding stupid goals and then trying to figure out if we're going to hold on. As always, I'm your host.
Break of
Yeah, that too. Portugal national
frustration
team
of the
break.
Seleção.
Yeah. As always, I'm your host, Mike. Today we will talk about Gil Vicente 0, Benfica 3. A couple of different topics we can dissect as it relates to that game. We will talk about Benfica Farense coming up on Wednesday. Again, we're playing from behind, so another makeup game to level set on the schedule. We'll look ahead to Sunday's big Porto Benfica, always an important game, and given the current moment of the standings, this game takes on a whole other element of importance for us. So we'll dissect all of that. And again, we've got a bunch of different subtopics to digest as it relates to this last week. So before we get started, if you are tuning in, whatever platform you're on, follow, like, share, subscribe, retweet, repost, whatever all the other terminologies are for all the various different social media platforms. It takes you 2 seconds to give us a thumbs up and a share and a like. So we appreciate all of your support for us. Para quem esteja a ver em português, se sentem mais confortáveis em deixar comentários em português, estejam à vontade. Podem nos deixar as vossas opiniões, o que vos vai na alma. Se quiserem mandar umas ofensas, também podem mandar. Todos percebemos, por isso não deixem nada por dizer, e nós certamente iremos falar sobre os vossos comentários. And for those of you in English, of course, join the conversation. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us your what's on your mind. Let us know, and we can interact with you here. So, Gil Vicente 0, Benfica 3. Starting 11 in this game. We started with Trubin in the back. I had the thing here, but I don't know what the hell I did with it. Trubin in the back, and then we had Tomás Araújo, António Silva, Otamendi, Carreras, Tino, Kokshu, Bruma, Auschnes, Amdouni, and Belotti. Oscar, I'll start with you. Surprises in this starting 11. I know for sure Belotti probably is a surprise to all of us. I don't know if there was any others. There was one other for me, but anything else that stood out to you here?
I mean, I think he explained it. At the beginning, when I first saw it, I'm like, man, why is he? This is a game we had a lot of rest. But we can a lot of time to. But he explained saying that the guys that stayed with him, training with him, is the guys he went with. They trained well, and it pinned out. I mean, I thought it was a great game from beginning to end. So I thought the starting 11 is somebody that he worked it out during the whole week or 2 weeks that the Portugal was playing, or the national teams were playing, and they kind of had to put it together. So I was surprised that Amdouni started. Belotti started, but I don't right now. After what I saw, I'm glad they did.
Yeah. Bill, and did anyone? Amdouni was the one that stood out to me, but I had a note that he was let go from the Swiss national team because he had some sort of knock or some sort of conditioning issue, whatever that case may be. But that's the one that stood out. But I had a note that, I think we all discussed that here in the last couple of podcasts, that performance-wise, the last couple of games that he's had, he actually performed well, right? So he's one that maybe it's a surprise, but he's also had some decent performances recently that maybe warranted that. But did anyone else stand out to you, Bill, or were those the two main ones?
Belotti to me was like the instant when as soon as I saw the lineup, I was like, oh, that's a little like surprise. But he's been playing well. Like again, Amdouni been playing well. Belotti's been playing well when they've getting their chances. So like it just stood out. Another one was Otamendi, and it's not like a surprise because of the player. It was more of a surprise because the game against Brazil ended at like 2 in the morning in Portugal, and the travel and like it just like all of that, like on top of it, it was just like, holy shit, this guy's a fucking like animal for
and he played like game,
traveling, and he the form and his performance didn't dip at all, which is crazy.
Correct. When I think I saw something that he's currently in Europe, like the player with the most minutes this season.
Yeah, I saw that
in every league, which is absurd given his age. But I also saw he's from a nutrition perspective. He's got like some Italian chef that he's had for like 10 years. He doesn't drink alcohol. So he sounds to me like a very much like a Pep, right? That played till he's 40, 41. Very good in terms of condition and nutrition. Ronaldo, same thing, right? Like takes care of himself. I mean, a guy his age to be playing the amount of minutes that he's been playing in the last 12, 18 months, you got to be doing something different than everyone else, or else you'd be dragging ass. So we get the win 3-0. In terms of the performance, Bill, how would you sum this game up?
Relaxing. Finally, this was a performance like this. This performance is what I want for the next, like, out of the next 9. I would take like 5 or 6 games like this.
8 to go.
I mean, I would, or 8 to go. I would love them all to be like this. Realistically, they're not all going to be like this, but I would love, like, the games you should win and the games you should control, a performance like this. Like, I never once at any point felt like the game was like that we lost control of the game, or we lost control of like it for like a second. Because to me, like, it was from start to finish, we kept possession, we dictated the pace. And it was played at our rhythm and our tempo, and we never once we didn't really have to get out of like 3rd or 4th gear. Like, we didn't have to get into like 4th gear. Like, it felt like a game where we did enough to win and just keep possession and pick our moments when to go. And it was like one of those like methodical, smart performances, a performance that we've been waiting for forever. Because lately it feels like every game we should win and should be comfortable, we're like scrapping at the last like 15, 20 minutes to get the result. And it just felt nice to be able to sit down and enjoy a game and not have to worry too much.
True. I felt that one was right. When we talk about comfort games, like, I think the game against Lille was pretty comfortable until we had that fuck up, right? And then all of a sudden things started to get wobbly, right?
They tied the game, and then we
right. But up until that, right? Like, it was pretty comfortable, right? They hadn't done shit, right? But that's what I meant, right? Is like, I feel like in those games that we have had that control, in the last 15, 20 minutes, we do something to mess it up. And then right now you're like, oh shit, what the hell's going to happen? Oscar, agree with what Bill said. And just for some statistics here, in the first half, Benfica had 66% possession versus 34, 9 shots, 4 on target versus their 1. And their 1 was a header 5 minutes in that Trubin saved comfortably. That could have been worse, but apart from that.
Because I missed the first 5 minutes, and then when I was listening on TV, the guy's like, Trubin had almost with the physical spectacular, and I'm like, man, they really had a chance.
It wasn't spectacular.
And then I went back and I saw the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, the fuck, he could have almost caught it if he wanted.
Yeah, it was pretty comfortable.
Like, that's not a big chance that they missed. It was like,
that was it.
Right before that, we had Arsenal that had a one-on-one
right
goal.
At the start.
That's a chance. Now the header is not a chance. So, I mean, it's a chance, but it's not a pretty goal.
Correct.
Like, Trubin had it comfortably. But I agree with Bill. I think it was one of those. I mean, if I could, my word for it is masterclass. I think it was from beginning to end. I think Bruno Lage read this game perfectly well. Used the right players, used the right momentum. I think all the players are in it. Like, they all hustled. I couldn't point out one bad performance on the team. I think all of them hustled their ass off. I think the defense played well. I think the midfield played well. Arsenal, to me, was the MVP. He was just all over the place, and I don't think the guy has a bad pass in him. And then it's so smart they could be in the right spots at the right times all the time. It's unbelievable how nobody's coming for Arsenal, which, thank God, knock on wood, they don't come. But
don't say it too loud.
He's amazing, man.
They might hear you. Thoughts on? I had a note here that for me, the first half was probably Bruma's best 45 minutes since he's gotten to Benfica. Like, he was everywhere. I mean, he was looking for the ball. He wanted it. He was switching positions constantly. He was on the left. He was on the right. He was in the middle. I mean, if there was a player that deserved a goal in that game, I felt it was him. And that first goal, I mean, his work 2v1 on that wing, and he puts it on a platter for Auschwitz to pass it into the goal. But did you guys see the same? Like, I thought he played very well.
Yeah, I thought there was a first half. I agree, but like, phenomenal. I think that guy had like you said, he wanted the ball. He won the guys. Smart plays almost 100% of the time. the second half, I felt like he kind of
dropped off a little bit.
And he I think his first touch in second half was like 10 minutes into the second half.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Bruma been? Like first half he was all over the place. Second half kind of dropped off a little bit. But I agree, first half phenomenal.
And I think the team also dropped off a little, right? Because we scored in the 51st minute, right? And I think the team in itself kind of slowed down the tempo at that point. Bill, did you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I did. I think he played really well, and I think having Bruma and Amdouni who can play on either side, like Oscar said, they were literally just swapping. It felt like every 10, 15 minutes they were on. They kept, and it like as a defender, like that is so hard to get stable into the game because you're like two very different players. Like Bruma's very north to south, whereas Amdouni likes to cut in a little bit more. And it's so hard to get into the game in a rhythm when you're constantly changing up who's out wide and the style of play. And I think they kind of suit each other well, the two of them, being able to kind of rotate around and not keep defenders on their feet.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rui's right on point. Says bullshit continues. Why is Laz destroying Araujo on the right? It's like we planned this because that was my next topic here. And welcome back, Rui. Wanted to touch on this Tomás Araujo situation. So he comes off again in the 57th minute.
I feel like he comes off every time the game is already settled.
So he comes off 6 minutes after we make it 2-0. Against Rio, he came off at halftime, which I think at the time was still 1-0, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. I had wrote an article about it this week, which outlined his usage patterns pre-Ba's injury, while Ba was available, and then post-Ba's injury. And before Ba's injuries, he had only been subbed off. In his first 18 games, he had started as a center back, 16 of those 18 games, and he only came off once, and that one time was when he was playing right back. Right, and then as you look at his progression, as he started to become more of a right back, even when Ba was available, right, he's now starting to be more of a player that comes off more consistently. And then again, Roberto Martinez has that press conference last week talking about a chronic injury, and then he corrects himself and says, "Oh, it was a mistake," blah blah, which I think is bullshit. And then the game after that, he comes off at halftime against Rio. This game comes off in the 57th minute, and he goes down because clearly he has a knock. He's sitting on the field and comes off with a knock. My question to you guys is, do you guys think that it was a lost in translation, the whole chronic injury comment that Roberto Martinez made? And then the other question mark that I have here is, I don't know, 2 months ago, Bruno Lage said, our backup right back is Leandro Santos, right? And he's played a couple of important games, right? He played away to Santa Clara, which isn't an easy game. And then he's had a couple of opportunities to bring him in, right? He wasn't on the bench this weekend or on Friday because of all the other pieces that he had on the bench. So naturally, he would have been one of the ones that's left off. But he did have some situations where he could have come in a game. He could have gone on the right back. Auschnitz ended up going on the right back. Then Dahl came on. Are you guys surprised, right, having made that comment? And I get, I understand he has to make that comment, right? He's a young kid, right? Make him feel like he's going to be counted. But are you guys surprised that he hasn't opted to use him more regularly? Like, for example, a game against Farense at home this week, right? Could that be an opportunity that he could play him? Or do we continue to run Tomás Araujo into the ground? And before I pass it to you guys, the need or the expectation on a player's body, right? And we all know this, playing as a right back and playing as a center back are two different things, right? And then, right, as a right back, you're going up and down, north to south. You got to get involved in the offense. You got to drop back, right? There's completely different type of movements. As a center back, right, you're more specific to your position. You're not doing those sprints up and down the line, right? And clearly, Tomás is struggling with this, right, getting adapted, right? Whereas a player like Auschnitz, for example, right, he plays on the right, he plays on the left, he plays in the middle, right? But he just has that in, he's capable of making that happen. Whereas clearly, this is obviously taking a toll on Tomás, and not only from a physical aspect, could it potentially also hamper his development, right? Because he started as our starting center back. His first 3 games under Roger Schmidt, he started and was with 3 different center back pairings. He started with Morato, then he played with Otamendi, then he started with Morato, Antonio Silva, then Otamendi. So I know I said a lot there. Oscar, I'll start with you here. do you see any concern here? Do you have any question marks, or is it just me?
No. Of course I do. Those question marks, because we see what we see when Leandro plays. I don't know what he sees during the practices. I don't know
Correct.
what goes on in practice. I'm not sure if he's seen something or not, because we see Leandro come in and I'm like, the kid actually played well against, like you said, against Santa Clara away, which is a tough game. Kid did his job. It played really well. So like what are we missing here? Like, and Araujo is obviously a player that is having a hard time in that position. Obviously, if he's healthy, he's probably the best player to fill that position, because he's fast and he has good ball control. So if he's healthy, but we've seen that he's not. So is it because he's playing that position, like you said? Because when he played center back, he was totally fine. But now playing right back, he's getting hurt every single game or coming out with a knock. So he's obviously struggling in that position. So yeah, I have question marks. And I'm a question mark about Leandro. What's going on with Leandro? Why can't Leandro start those games? Now, if Farense comes along and Leandro doesn't start that game, then the question mark becomes bold and cap for 100. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
So we'll see what happens, especially now because Araujo left with a knock. We have Porto right after Farense.
Yep.
Right. So is Bruno Lage going to keep going with Araujo and kind of try to get him to pull a hammy? Is this Celeste, whatever his name is, Martinez chronic injury? Is that something to be concerned about? Like, does he know something we don't know? Is this kind of like all?
I mean, there's definitely something there. Like, it's not like, this is not just like a one-time thing. He's like been dealing with this for the last like few months. So there's definitely something there. And
but you don't think? I don't think that Roberto like he talks to the clubs, right? How's the condition of this player, right? We want to bring him on. I don't think he pulled chronic injury out of the air. I think he let a secret slip that he shouldn't have let slip.
I think that was the term Benfica. That was the term Benfica used to hit to the Seleção,
and he wasn't supposed to let it out.
And he repeated it, and it shouldn't have been repeated.
Or it could be Benfica using that term so it doesn't get called. Because of that, because he has some kind of knock and he doesn't want to.
But then he comes out 2 times in a row. They're either playing the game of like, let's keep doing it and play this game, right? Which could be a mind game, right? But I don't think I believe that.
Can you explain what exactly is a chronic injury? Like, what explain that to me?
You have a muscle injury, right, where you're just it's constantly happening, right? Like I feel like Renato Sanchez has a chronic injury, right?
You say you pull or like tear a hamstring.
Yeah, and you constantly do it.
You sit out for like a few weeks or whatever, and then you can play, but you can tweak it again. It's just something that you just
injury that doesn't go away, basically.
Essentially,
pretty much.
Yeah,
like you basically stop for like a few months.
Yeah.
So Benfica saying that to them and him repeating it, the value of the player goes down 100%.
So that was another argument point, right? Commentators were like, that comment he made, whether it's true or not, as a buying club in the future. Right, they could potentially grab that and be like, "Hold on a second, we don't want to pay as much as you want us to pay because of Roberto Martinez said that you had a chronic injury." So, right, so that not only impacts Benfica, it impacts Tomás Araujo also in his future in terms of where he could potentially go.
What's concerning to me in this is, so he didn't go to the Seleção. Like, I get the chronic injury and you play too many games, right? Or you play a ton of games at right back. The strain level is different, and like I can see that like adding up, and like your muscles are like, you just can't recover in time fully for every game. My concern is like he was off for 2 weeks, and then the first game back, he's off again. Like, that's concerning to me. Like, you have 2 weeks of, I'm saying rest, because training, there's training, but he's probably not training at the same level as everyone else. He's probably getting treatment and all that. Like 2 weeks of recovery and training and all that, and you still come off early in a game. Like, that's concerning to me. And like you said, with Porto coming up, Farense at home, like there's no excuse not to play Leandro or Dahl. Exactly. Like Dahl can play on either side. You have an option there. Worst case, you could put Freddie there. I just think it's like, I don't want to go back down that fucking path of putting Freddie at right back. Like, you have 2 options at home. There's no reason for either Dahl or Leandro to play. Like, none at home.
I agree.
Right.
And looking at the numbers, so prior to the new year, so since the start of the season until the end of 2024 calendar year, He had started 16 of 18 games in central defense, playing the full 90 in all of them but one. And that one was at right back. Between January 1st and February 8th, which is when Ba got hurt, with Ba available during that time, he didn't have any injuries. Tomás Araújo played right back 6 times versus 2 times as center back, right? So even with our right back available, he still played right back 6 out of 8 times. And then since Ba's injury, he started 7 times at right back and only once as a center back. Right. So you could see this trend and that progression in terms of substitutions and niggling injuries here and there has just intensified. And I guess I'll be curious to see what happens on Wednesday against Farense. But I feel like the whole comment from Roberto Martinez and that injury, I feel like there's a hell of a lot more to that comment than maybe we initially thought when it was first made. But time will tell. I mean, who knows? Maybe at the end of the year, we'll find out he had some sort of muscle problem and he has to get operated or whatnot. And they were just trying to ride it out and not get him sent away in the middle of the season. I don't know, but I feel like there's something else there. I wanted to get your thoughts on Benfica's third goal. Penalty against on Di Maria. Do you guys think it was a penalty or no?
I've seen worse, and I've seen
I mean,
you
can say that for anything.
I mean, we saw some the yesterday on Sporting. So I mean, that to me, winning if I was 0-0, that's PK all day.
You'd want it. Yeah.
It's a PK all day.
And a red card.
But now it was 2-0, 96th minute.
Yeah.
I mean, don't call a ref.
I mean, that's it. To me, it's soft.
Some guys talk and message me saying, call
No names mentioned. Yeah, I didn't think it was a penalty. I felt like he was already making the movement before the guy even got to him.
Yeah.
I thought it was super soft. If that was against us, I'd be super pissed off, regardless of what the score was. But in my opinion, it was wrongly called. Bill, do you agree?
Yeah, it was soft. I mean, but like Oscar said, we've seen so much worse.
We've seen some,
which is the problem. Which is the problem. Like we've seen so many bad ones in other games.
That's Portuguese.
I know it's the league
football for you. Did you guys ever see the video of the Portuguese game right before the international break, where the guy literally his arm out, the referee goes and looks at it for like 5 minutes. He comes back. Posição natural.
Yeah.
Like, they still lost that game though.
Yeah, the guy's arm is out here. Posição natural. Nossa senhora. What the hell? But
like, I want to like ask that question again. Like, how is this posição natural? He has his arm, but whatever.
Did you see the penalty today against Turil?
With Porto? No.
The guy's arm is like this. It hits him like here. Penalty. Posição não natural. Like, bro, his arm was like, it's like, what's he supposed to do? Put his hands in his sleeves? But again, it's the Portuguese league. I feel like every week you just don't know what the hell to expect. Anything can happen. Belotti gets on the score sheet on the second goal. A well-weighted cross from Kokshu off a set piece. Tony knocks it to the back post. It looked to me like it was one of those plays that you draw up in practice. Mm-hmm. And Bruno Lage is typically very good at set pieces and corner kicks and all that stuff. So this one definitely looked like it was prepared and planned. But the question for Belotti, I know we went back and forth a little bit on the group chat. I went and did some research. So according to Capology, which is one of the more recognized databases of player salaries, Belotti's on 2.8 million gross per year salary. Now, in comparison to Benfica's current squad, that puts him at the same price point as Auschwitz. And again, Benfica doesn't divulge or release their salaries. This is all kind of collected data. But according to Capology, Auschwitz is on 2.8 million as well, gross. Kochu's on 3. Pavlidis is on 2.8. So from the top, Renato doesn't count because he's most of his salary is being paid by PSG. But you got Trubin at 3.8, Di Maria at 3.8, Ertur at 3.8, Kokshu at 3, Auschwitz 2.8, Belotti 2.8, Pavlidis 2.8, Aktürkoğlu 2.8, and then Otamendi at 2.5. So he's right. Like from a salaries perspective, he's not going to break the bank. He's a player of experience. He's a European champion. He's 31 years old. He's a workhorse. He's not very injury prone. I went and looked up his injuries. His longest, stoppage in terms of injuries was in the where was it? The 21-22 season, where he had hamstring injuries. He had a tendon injury where he missed 24 games. Apart from that, he's mostly averaged 4 games, 2 games, 5 games, 5 games, 3 games per season. So he's not a guy that's out constantly. And based on the salary, if the opportunity came about, and when I say opportunity, I'm pointing more towards, right, like I think we would have to offload Ertuğrul Cabral, right? There's no point in having someone like him and then have Belotti as well. But if the opportunity arose and we were able to move certain pieces, Bill, do you think it would be worth keeping someone like him?
Yeah, I mean, I said it in the group chat. Like I would explore that option because he's an experienced player, still very serviceable, and he's a different style to Pavlidis, right? So when you start one or the other, you're not bringing like a like for like on, right? You're kind of changing up how the team plays a bit and how defenders have to defend the strikers. And for me, I mean, since he's come, I don't think he's put a wrong foot. Like he's come in, he works his tail off. He does well to kind of hold the ball up. I think he like back to goal. He does very well to hold the ball up and kind of hold it up and let the team. The fuck, Jesus Christ, dude! There's so much movement. Holy shit!
Keep going.
He lets the team kind of get up the field, and he does well to connect with like Bruma, Koksu, and Amdouni. So for me, like, and I think I had seen on like Transfer Market, his like value was like 4 mil. Like that nowadays, that's chump change in transfer, and the salary is a bit high. But I mean, if you can offload some guys, and to me, that's kind of like a no brainer as an option as a secondary striker, right? You have a very good Pavlidis and another experienced guy off the bench.
Oscar, would you do it?
Yeah, I would. I disagree with Bill on one thing. I think they are more alike than they are not alike. I think they both.
Him and Pavlidis?
Yeah, Pavlidis is not. He's more alike. I think they both hustle. I think they both come and get the ball. They both go to the outside and hustle there. I think they both are alike more than they are not alike. That's my opinion. So, but his hustle is work ethic. I think is shown that he's worth keeping. The salary, that's what one thing I was scared about when you guys mentioned that on the chat, was the salary at 2.8. And being like almost a million off Ertuğrul. So I think if we let go of Ertuğrul, that's gaining a million.
No, Ertuğrul Cabral, you mean?
Ertuğrul Cabral. Sorry, Ertuğrul Cabral being 3.8, right? So that's you save $1 million in salary right there, and you get a better player.
Well, and there's always the potential to sign him at less than that, right? Like he's a year older.
Correct. Even if I'm just talking,
even if he kept the same salary,
right? You're still saving.
Yeah.
And he's not playing. He wasn't playing at Como, right? Nope. I don't think he's ever been outside of Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
Italy, you mean?
Or Italy, I meant. Yeah, I don't think he's been outside. No, he was at Torino, then he was at Roma, and Fiorentina, and then Como, right? So it would be a good opportunity for him. He's still only 31 years old, right? An opportunity to kind of put himself back out there, right? Like I feel like after he left Torino, he kind of fell off, and there was a lot of clubs that were after him. And I feel like, I don't know, he comes across as a player that knows what his responsibility is in the locker room, right? Like he's an experienced player. He's a European champion, right? So like he very much could have come in and been like, listen, like I want to fucking play, right? And he just comes across as a humble guy and like, this is my part. I'm going to come in and work my ass off, and I'm going to make an effort. And however I can contribute, I'm going to contribute. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to like cause a shitstorm in the locker room, right? And you need those guys, right? He's got experience. He's got his head on right, and like those are the types of guys that you need. 1, 2, 3 of those in the locker room, right? Opposed to having guys that are going to create problems. I want to play. Then my agent goes and makes a press conference in the newspapers that, thinking about going here, going there, right? And then like it just starts creating all sorts of shit. So I agree with you guys. I think if the opportunity arose, I think it would be a no-brainer. Yeah. Curious to see how this pans out, but I don't see a situation where Benfica doesn't offload Artur Cabral this summer.
Cabral has to go. Yeah, has to.
Like I don't see how you keep him.
And then did we sell? Did we loan out Casper?
Casper's on loan to Venezia.
So he'll come back.
But no, but I think
Correct.
Isn't it their obligation to buy?
No, it's an option to buy.
Option.
But he's another player that he scored a few goals while he's over there. But he's another player that like we could potentially offload or loan again, right? Because he's still young, right? So there's no right. He's still an asset to the club that we could still kind of move around on loan, right? But is he a guy that's going to come in? Like, would you guys feel confident having Casper as our second striker? Like, I wouldn't yet.
I mean, Roger Smith did.
He did, right? And then he ended up getting loaned out. Hey, he scored a big goal against Sporting for us. So.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
And Braga.
Yeah.
Right, but like, if I had to take my pick, right, I mean, again, I feel like it's a no-brainer. You also got guys like Enrique Ruju that are still out there, right? But like, those are pieces that are still young. They still have market. They could still go out, and other teams can still use them. But if the opportunity arose, I think it would be a no-brainer for Benfica not to take that opportunity. If the numbers made sense and if these numbers are accurate, I think if we offload Artur Cabral, which I'm hoping we do and can, I would say would be crazy not to take that option. Moving on. MVP for this game before we wrap this up.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, there are a lot of, like I said, there's actually a lot of guys that could win it. Like you mentioned Bruma. I thought Arsenis to me was my MVP. That first half that he had until he had to go to right back where he kind of was more quiet. When he was in the midfield, that guy owned the midfield, and there's not one bad pass. I think he was like everything he did was in the right spot, always the right pass, always the right recovery. Phenomenal. First half to me, Arsenis was unbelievable.
Bill,
I agree. I think like Oscar said, he was unbelievable. I think his only mistake in that first half was not scoring that breakaway. Yeah. Right. Like other than that, like everything he did was perfect. Like he was in the right spot, pressing. Like
his footwork too. He started doing some trick passes and stuff with his heels and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this Arsenis?
He had 2 weeks. He had 2 weeks to practice.
Yeah, he's feeling good about himself. It's funny. So I would say I thought. If Bruma was able to play the second half a little bit better, I would give it to him. But I thought Kokshu had a good game. He had a play also in like the 75th minute or something like that, where he, got the ball back and Di Maria wasn't able to take an opportunity from it. But I thought he played really well. Funny, which is interesting though, Goal Point has Auschwitz as the second lowest score. Only Tomás Araújo scores lower than his, which is crazy. Tomás was a 5.4. Auschwitz 5.7. Their man of the match was Kokshu at 7. Bruma 6.8. Carreras 6.3. Otamendi 6.2. Antonio 6.2. Amdouni 6.3. Belotti 6.2. Di Maria still managed to get a 6.3, which I think is absurd. But Auschwitz scored 2 and he got a 5.7. Yeah, I think that in itself tells me that this numbers for this game were a bit skewed.
I don't Freddie know got it in the game, right? From Sport TV or whatever. Or the league? I think it was Freddie.
I think it was Freddie that got it after the game, yeah.
Yeah.
The MVP, yeah. But when you guys said Auschwitz, I was looking at the number and I was like, wait a minute, the hell is only a 5.7? Interesting. All right, Wednesday Sporting won their game yesterday against Cerro da Amadora. So we are 3 points back again with a game in hand. We have that game in hand on Wednesday. Sporting plays Thursday, but it's for the Taça de Portugal, the first round against Rio Ave. So we welcome Farense to the Estádio on Wednesday. They are second to last, 17th place with 17 points. They're 2 points clear of last place. They got 3 wins, 8 draws, 15 losses, 17 goals for, 37 goals against. They're averaging 0.65 goals per game. and 1.4 goals against per game. They haven't won since December 21st away to Famalicão in a 2-1 win. They've lost 5 and drawn 5 in their last 10 in the league. They visit the Estádio de Luz, or their last visit to the Estádio de Luz was that 1-1 draw in the 23-24 season, which was when they threw the bottle at Roger Schmidt. Prior to that, they had lost the last 5 visits to the Estádio de Luz, and being outscored 21-5 over those 5 games. What do we expect? Oh, and to also mention, Tino and Di Maria are at risk of missing the Porto game if they get a yellow card.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, what do you expect lineup-wise here?
Tino in the bancada. I wouldn't risk it. Like at home, like I think it was the last podcast, like we talked, there's certain games where you could do like a Renato, Freddy, Coxu midfield. Again, at home, to the second to last team in the league is a game you should be able to throw those three in the midfield and come away with a good result. Like there's no reason not to be able to sit Tino the entire game. Di Maria to me is the one where like you have him on the bench because he's just coming back from an injury, so you kind of want to get him some minutes. But at the same time, like, do you risk it and then he could potentially be out for the Porto game, and then that's another option that you don't have off the bench? Like that to me is a little trickier than Tino. Like this game at home, Tino should be nowhere near the bench. You go to the mid, like you do a Coxu, Freddy, and whoever else in the midfield, and you should have enough to get through. And I'm hoping for a performance like we saw on Friday, where from start to finish, game where we control it, dictate the tempo and pace, and kind of see out the game and get a good result and leading into what's going to be a fucking hostile environment.
Yeah, Oscar, before I pass it to you, we've got a lot of people watching. I can see the numbers going up. Seems like everyone's shy on this Sunday evening. So Rui's the only one that wants to get chatty with us. But if anyone else, if you want to leave us your thoughts, what do you expect for this game against Farense, against Porto coming up? Don't be shy. We can see that the numbers are going up here. So there's people that are watching us. We're not just talking to ourselves. But maybe you're just feeling shy and or maybe we're saying everything that you're thinking. Maybe you agree with 100% what we're saying and you don't have any questions for us. That could be it too. Oscar, do you agree with Bill in terms of Tino and Di Maria?
Well, yeah. Well, Tino, no brainer. I think we really need Tino against Porto away. Correct. We really, if that's the game, we need him. But we cannot take Farense lightly. So let's not change up the whole thing and just start thinking of Porto right now. We have to think a game at a time. And Correct. Those 3 points against Farense is just as important as 3 points against Porto.
More important because it's the game.
Maybe more important. Yeah.
Correct. So let's not think right away to Porto. So Tino, I wouldn't risk it because not only do we really need him against Porto, but I think he's the type of player that will get a stupid yellow card.
Yeah, I mean, he got a stupid yellow card this week.
Correct, yeah. And because he's like you, Mike, he mentioned this in the past. Like he's always light tackling. He's always got so all it takes is miss the ball one time and so we can't afford to lose him against Porto. So and we have Barreiro on the bench. So Barreiro can come in against Farense, especially at home where we're gonna have most of the possession.
Yep.
And Barreiro is better going forward. So I think it only makes sense for Barreiro to start that game and keep the possession. And then with Di Maria, he's Argentinian. He's a hothead. It could be somebody just ticking him off and he'll headbutt him or fucking touch his nose or you know what I mean? So
or he does one of his dives and gets a fucking stupid card for that.
Right. So because Di Maria is that type of play, he'll start messing around with the ball and swinging his arms around and all that, and that could happen. But I think Di Maria needs his minutes, and he's like Bill said. I agree. Coming in second half, get going, and then we'll have him for Porto. So we have to have a big talk with Di Maria. Don't fucking be stupid. This isn't like don't get a stupid yellow card.
Yeah.
And call it a day. And then Araújo, we need to save him.
Yeah.
If Araújo is keep him on the bench for emergency, but I think we need to save him. Get Leandro or Dal inside and let's get this win. And I believe Bruno Lage will do that.
Starting 11. So we got Trubin in goal. Backline stays the same with the exception of Tomás. Who do you guys put there?
I'd put Leandro.
Bill?
Yeah, I do. I agree. At home, again, it's a game, like he's young, like we've said, and getting the start, again, just help build his confidence. And it's a game at home that we should like have no fear to put the kid in there.
I think he puts Dahl on the right.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on at practice with Leandro. I mean, I haven't seen him mess up when he's come in and got called. So I'm not sure what's going on in the back end. But either Dahl or Leandro, I think would do the job. But Leandro just because it's his position.
Agreed. I just feel like since that Santa Clara game, he's not used him very often, which leads me to believe he's in that phase of it's crunch time and I need to go with the experience if I can, which leads me to believe that he's probably going to opt for having Dahl at right back over Leandro in this game. But we'll see. Do you guys agree with Alex says, don't sleep on Farense. These small teams want to play their best game against Benfica, which is, of course,
and they need
they're fighting. Correct. They need as many points as they can.
Yeah.
And they got 26 games.
3 points gets them to
they're still in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still, but Boavista's 2 points back, right? So if Farense loses and Boavista wins, they go down to last place, right? So like every point is important right now to at least get them into that playoff spot so they don't go down automatically. So yeah, they'll be fighting tooth and nail. But he says I would go with a 4-4-2 with Pavlidis and Belotti in the front, Samu in the net, which is what throws me off here. Put young kids in, and we have a solid team at the moment. Do you guys agree with the Pavlidis and Belotti, and do you agree with Samu in goal?
No, I wouldn't change that much. But if he puts Pavlidis and Belotti, who does he keep off?
Exactly. Like you're changing the formation and structure. Yeah. Like that to me, it's too much. Like I keep the same type of formation that we've been playing. Pavlidis or Belotti up top. I mean, Samu and net.
I think because
we're past that. Come on,
we got in the rhythm of playing well at this formation. We can't change it up right now and put two strikers and then adapt. Like I know Farense is a bottom team, but we cannot sleep on them. I mean that's the teams we almost lose campeonatos against these teams.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so you guys think Leandro? I think he's going to go Dahl in the midfield. I think he'll go Renato, Kokshu, and Auschness.
I agree. I think the last few weeks have
just
shown
because he's been bringing on Renato more than Barreiro. Yep. That's why I'm thinking.
Without Tino, I think he would go Barreiro. Tino's been there.
It also makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm curious, right? Because we had seen Barreiro come in fairly frequently, right? He came against Barcelona. And then in the last couple of games, he hasn't. Of course, Tino's been there, but Bruno Lage has also said that the two of them can coexist, right? Because he doesn't see Barreiro as a 6. He sees him more as a player that goes forward. But based on the substitution patterns, I'm going to guess that he's going to go Renato there because it's against Farense at home. It's a game that you're going to have more ball. Renato's capable of playing in that hole, but also he's able to transport the ball going forward. He's got better feet. He gives you a little bit more physicality. That's my guess. So you think he goes with Barreiro, Oscar?
I think he goes with Barreiro. Without Tino, I think the safest bet is Barreiro. We also don't want to Renato will do the job, or maybe he'll put options there and have Renato more like a 8 and Koksu being our 10 or the more forward of the triangle. But to me, I think the safest bet is Barreiro because that's, to me, my safest bet.
Alex agrees with you. Bill, you Barreiro or Renato?
No, I think I agree with what you said. I think given kind of the push with the Renato the last few games and getting him in minutes, I think I could see him starting Renato over Barreiros. And I think, like Oscar said, I think in that circumstance, I think it would be Freddie that drops deeper and plays like the Tino role, and then you would have Koksu and Renato kind of roaming in front.
Jesse on Instagram says Renato's a must. So also agrees with that.
I mean,
and then in the front,
he comes on a game that's won. He comes in at the 86th minute.
Yeah, I get that, but it's almost like he's been just trying to get him in. I had seen some stats
with the Barca games. It's been the last 3 or 4 games.
I think I saw some stat today that says this is the first time in a really long time that Renato's been available like 6 straight games or 7 straight games, which is
fucking
crazy.
sad.
Yeah, a lot of that time is playing like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, but it's
They're
crazy.
still
Yeah, I think he's
available.
in those games. I think he's played like 100 minutes in those, like in that stretch, right? So again, it's not many minutes, but like Bill said, right, those are minutes that we had been hoping he could have played for a long time, and he hasn't given them to us. So let's not jinx it. In the front, Pavlidis an automatic, or you think he's gonna ride Belotti again?
No, he needs to get his momentum back, scoring some goals.
I go with Pavlidis.
Okay, and then wings. Who are you guys going with?
Bruma and
So you're sticking with it?
Yep,
You think so, Bill?
I agree. Yeah, I think. I mean, both have been playing well. They've been getting their minutes. Bruma for me is right now like the automatic. Amdouni is the one where you would look at, does he potentially take him out for Karem? But I think in current form, Amdouni's
And
playing a lot
Amdouni is
better.
like a guy like he's a guy as a second striker or somebody. Like I know Alex mentioned something about having sometimes the strikers alone up there and all that. On a game where we should have most possession and have attacks, Amdouni is the guy that will be our second striker, and I think he's the perfect player for that role. He's like he shoots the ball very well from every direction.
Dude, he shoots from everywhere. He doesn't hesitate.
So it's a good guy to have there because you'll have opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and he doesn't ask for permission. He'll just let it rip. Right-footed, left-footed, right? And as a defender, that makes it tough to defend, right? Because you don't know what the hell to expect. This guy's either going to take you one-on-one or he's going to pull a shot out of his ass, right? He's going to put it in the back corner. So I think the only difference here is going to be, I think Bruma starts, but I think he brings on Di Maria on the right over Amdouni to start. Just because Di Maria as a starter and Di Maria as a sub, I feel are two different players. Having been out for so long, I feel like it's probably more beneficial to him to play from the start against an opposing team that's fresh, right? That's going to challenge him with his teammates that are also fresh, that are looking to score, right? Opposed to him coming in the 70th minute when the game's resolved, right? And then everyone's kind of going through the motions. Like, I feel like he's not going to get as much out of that. Like, talent-wise, we know he has it, right? I think what he's going to be looking for now is the routine, the fitness piece of it. And I feel like he's going to get more out of starting than he would if he came in with the games already set in stone. The thing is right, like Oscar said, you need to basically have the conversation of like, don't fucking get, because the opportunity arises. The guy with the whistle is going to take every opportunity that he can get. Do not give them the opportunity to give you a yellow card. So that's a stern conversation that has to happen, right? And he's an experienced guy. He knows this, right? He knows the Portuguese league, but you just never know with the referees, right? So that's the only difference that I have with you guys. I think he comes in as a starter, not as a sub.
Are you starting Di Maria to get minutes and rhythm to start Porto?
Yes.
Or are you just starting Di Maria to get rhythm and like just to
start Porto,
get up to speed?
I'll tell you, Di Maria is a game player. He's definitely a game player.
I know.
Yes. Yeah. You can't if Di Maria is fit. I don't see.
He's been out for so long, though. That's one of those things. Like
he has been out for so long, but that's the thing, right? Like I think him starting against Farense gives you that gauge of like, right, where is he, right? Because he's going to be going up against a fresh team, opposed to if he comes in the 70th minute, he's just going through the motions. Everyone else is going through the motions, right? Depending on how the game is. But like Oscar said, right, he's a big game player, right? Like for you to leave him on the bench in a game away to Porto is pretty ballsy if he's fit.
Yeah,
that's a tough decision to make. I don't care what coach it is. I mean, Scaloni's left him off in the national team in the World Cup a couple of times, right? But that's a different element, right? And you've got other players around, right, at that point. But
if you see his Netflix, I don't know if you saw the documentary.
Yeah, I watched it.
Like he did stay on the bench, and then
he asked too. He also asked too because he said he didn't feel 100%.
He came back into the game and he won him a World Cup.
Yeah. So yeah, I would get him prepped to play because let's be honest, I don't think while he's been out, I don't think any of our players that play on the wing have been above and beyond that we could say they won that spot over. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I mean,
like Brumas had flashes. Karem scored against Riwa, but like no one stood out and been like that.
Yeah.
They need to start.
No, nobody.
Right. So like if he comes back in and he's fit, like what's your argument to keep him out? Alex says, yeah, exactly. Refs will be on point this Wednesday. Vão fazer tudo para ajudar os tripeiros.
I don't even think they're there to help the tripeiros anymore. I think they're there to help Sporting.
The Sapinhos. It's more like it. Everyone's in favor. Everyone's on the wagon. So we got to do our best, be on our best behavior to not give them the opportunity to make those calls. Quickly look ahead to next Sunday's game because we'll be here next Sunday evening, hopefully off the back of 2 wins. Let's just hypothetically assume that Benfica should get the business done against Farense at home midweek, and we should go into the weekend level on points with Sporting. And we play Sunday. Sporting plays Monday at home against Braga, right? So depending on how things go on Sunday, we could put some pressure on Sporting. We could also put they could also go into that game with a little bit less pressure. Hopefully that's not the case. But what do you guys expect going into this game against Porto? A Porto side who, let's face it, has struggled mightily. They won again today 2-1. Another struggle performance. Bruno Lage is 2-3 versus Porto. He has that memorable win at the Estádio de Dragão with Felix and Rafa scoring. He lost a semi-final in the Taça da Liga 3-1 against Porto, his first time against them. Then he won 2-1 at the Dragão. He lost 2-0 at home against them in 2019. Lost 3-2 away to them that same season. And then he just beat them 4-1 at home in the league. So he's got a negative record against them. But what do you guys expect in this game, given the circumstances, given the current state of this league, given the current state of Porto? Whoever wants to go.
Oh, I'll. It's easy for me. I think Porto, no matter how bad they're playing,
yes,
against Benfica, they're gonna try eating.
I mean, the president already came out and said
it's the game of the season.
It's their Super Bowl.
The biggest game of the season for them is against Benfica next game, right?
And to try to be able to get them off the throne, right? That would be a huge win for them.
So we know what we're gonna expect. Even if either we are in our game or we're gonna lose. And the last time we played there, we lost 5-0.
Yep.
The last game we played at Dragão, we lost 5-0. So and we had a better team. We had a better everybody. They were also in the struggle bus, and we still got smashed 5-0. So yeah, I know exactly what to expect from Porto. They're gonna leave it all on the field, especially because they just lost to us 4-1 on an embarrassing manner. Yep. So the coach and whoever's out there, the president's gonna tell them, this is the game. You eat the grass. I don't give a shit what you guys do. If you guys suck, you're gonna eat the grass and beat them. So I know what to expect. Either Benfica's on or Benfica's gonna get smashed.
God.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about the second option. Bill, do you agree?
Gonna be a lot of these getting tossed around, I think.
Oh, golf balls? Yeah.
Dude.
We haven't seen those in a while.
It's been a few years. I agree with Oscar. I think these games, the Clásicos, Porto, Sporting, like it doesn't matter. The form all gets tossed out the window. It's the atmosphere. Like we know what we're gonna walk into, regardless of how bad Porto's or how many struggles they're going through, financial struggle. Like it doesn't make a fucking difference. Like it's gonna be a hostile environment. I mean, I agree with Oscar. I think if we're not on, it's gonna get hostile. It's going to get hard, and like the potential for it to be a very miserable day is there. But I'm just hoping.
We've had many there.
I know.
And just remember, like if we do get it done, and I'm saying not only Porto, Farense is first. That's the most important one.
Correct.
We get Farense done, and then if we do get it done at Porto, we put pressure on Sporting against Braga there.
So much.
Correct.
Yeah.
So because that will be the first time we'll be up 3 points before in Braga, and Sporting has to play after us.
And for Braga, that's good too because they're even on points with Porto.
They're trying to catch up.
So they would have to win. They will need to win against Sporting to get into Europa, whatever it is, Europa League.
Yep. Yeah. So there's motivating factors on both sides of the fence in that game. which makes it interesting. Again, we're a week away. Jesse says, have to load up the midfield versus Porto, have to win the trenches. Coaching will be the difference. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
absolutely.
I don't know about loading up the
I don't
midfield.
think it's even. I don't.
Oscar's a little frozen here.
Am I not lagging?
No, you're good.
There you go. You're back now.
No, I said I don't. Coaching is going to be just because how they're going to prepare the team mentally.
Yep.
It's not how they're going to prepare technically, because I think we know what to expect. It's more mentally. Benfica needs to play like when we played with Eusebio in our shirts. Like that's how we have to go into this game, because mentally I think we just I don't know what kind of videos they saw before the game and whatnot.
Or that's substances.
What they did that game is what they need to do this time around. Get in their mind the right mindset to play this game. Let's not let them get into our heads. Just go in and give it all. Like just go and fucking garra. That's what we expect from them now. And the coach is obviously going to play a big part in that.
You can't go into the game with fear. Like if you're going into that game with any kind of, you're fucked right from the start. Yeah. I agree. They have to come in. This is for the coach, the managers. Like this is more preparing the team during the week, not tactically like Oscar said. Like it's the mental aspect of it. Like this, we're not going in to be afraid. We're going into for 3 points and that's it. Like that is the biggest battle, and I think that's where we've lost the battle every time we've gone up. Not every time, but the majority of the times we go up there, they're lost before we even fucking step on the field.
At least in our lifetime, most.
Yeah.
But the other thing here is, obviously Benfica wants to win out, right? But if Benfica is to win all their games, or of the remaining 8 games, Benfica can drop points in one of them, as long as they beat Sporting and win out the rest, right? Because we just have to beat Sporting by 2 goals.
Beat Sporting by 2 goals, not 2-1
correct.
or 1-0.
Correct. Which puts it in the sense of like, yes, we want to win and we should want to win, but do you think it takes some pressure off of us as well, knowing that we still have Sporting to play, right? So we still have 7 games after this Porto game, or 5, right? There's 8, 6. There'll be 5 after that. Do you think that takes a little bit of pressure off Benfica in the sense of like, all right, we 100% want to win, right? That's we need to play for that. If we draw, right, we still depend on ourselves, right? If we lose, we still depend on ourselves, right? Do you think that takes a little bit of pressure off of opposed to, if we drop points, we don't play our direct contender again, now we're fucked, right? Like, do you guys think that takes a little bit off?
It does, but it also, if we don't win against Porto, say we lose against Porto, right?
Yep.
And now we have to be Sporting by 2 goals at home. And to me, it's like, it's one thing that like I just don't trust them to do it.
Fair. That's a fair point. I agree with that.
I think winning there does a hell of a lot more for us, like as team spirit and like mentally, than
confidence wise,
knowing that 100%. If we drop a point, we still have like I think if we go there and get a result, like it puts the team on a whole nother fucking level.
And not just the team, I think it also puts the fans like on a completely different level, which is important for us as we go through this final stage. The other question that I was going to ask was shit, I lost it. What the hell is it about? No. Oh, I got it. Do you think we have an advantage here from a manager perspective, not in terms of tactics and all that stuff, but in the sense of Bruno Lage knows the league. He knows what's behind Porto Benfica or Benfica Porto, right? He knows all the elements that go into this, whereas Anselmi, this is his first one, right? So there's a shit ton of pressure on Anselmi, right? He basically wants to redo the result that Vitor Bruno got the first time around, right, at the Estádio da Luz, right? So there's a shit ton of pressure there. They're struggling in the league, right? So when you add all that up, right, and now it's like, okay, we're going to put all this on top of you. We got smashed, right, against our biggest rival. That shit's not allowed in our DNA. you better go out there and fix it. And he's got no experience of what this entails. Do you think we have an advantage there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've had coaches coaching Porto de Estrangeiros. They didn't have the raça like Sérgio Conceição does and all that.
Yeah.
And it showed when Porto played Benfica, almost like, it's just another game. And when Sergio was coaching it, no matter what Porto they had, they play their hearts out. So I think it's going to make a big difference that it's a guy that doesn't know the history, doesn't know like the rival that we are to Benfica, or they are to Benfica. So like it's going to be a big difference being him instead of a Sergio Conceição, for example.
Bill, do you agree?
100%. Like I compare it to like when we sign players and like they always talk about like the festas no marquês. Like it's easy to like explain it, but it like until you get there, like it's never like you don't understand it. And I think it's the same with this. Like it's easy to like say the words and tell them how big it is and how important this is and the rivalry and how much history there is. But until you're like in it and living it and like breathing it, like I don't think you can't comprehend like the magnitude of the game. And yes, the history around it, you can't grasp it. And then add, like you said, their struggles on top of that. He's a new manager, like in the league, first time against Benfica. Like you add all that on top of it, I think there's so much pressure on him. And I think there is a little advantage to having like a Bruno Lage for us, right? Like he's been there, he's done it. He lives Benfica, like he understands the magnitude of it. And if anyone's able to get the team up for it, it's going to be him.
Should be
compared
him.
Compared to Salmi.
Compared to Roger Schmidt, say it.
No, I'm comparing him to
again.
Roger Schmidt did it.
He went there and won
it.
He won too. Yeah. He also lost too. He got smashed too. I would be willing to bet Josh Costa is the one that gives the locker room chat before that game. Being a guy that's lived through many of those games.
Villas Boas is going to be down there too. I bet.
Yeah, but you don't want the president and
he's going to be hanging. He's going to be.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
He's going to be the one handing out the needles.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Costa is the one that's giving the slaps around in the locker room before the game, just to get them pumped up. But yeah, we've got two big games coming up. Farense at home, Porto away is going to be challenging to say the least. We will be here Sunday evening, next week. Hopefully it's a positive one off the back of 2 wins, and hopefully we're sitting in first place next time we're here next Sunday. That was it. We've covered all of our topics. I wanted to thank everyone that was in the chat. We had a lot of views. Again, people were shy on Sunday. Maybe everyone's tired from the long weekend. That's fine. If you're watching back after the fact, or if you're listening on the audio version, feel free to leave us your comments, your questions, your feedback. We always check them out, so we'll engage and interact with you. Gentlemen, as always, it has been a pleasure. Again, 2 big games. Hopefully at this time next week, we are sitting in first place and crossing our fingers for Braga to be able to do us a little favor. Bruno Lage was Carvalhal's assistant for a little while. I'm sure they're texting back and forth and bouncing ideas off each other, and hopefully it all works out well. Have a good evening, and of course, Viva Sport Lisboa e Benfica. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Better boys.